Good morning, YouTube. This morning we're in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 in the Grand Canyon National Park area. Um, Yesterday we used X-Plane 11 to fly around the Grand Canyon and into the Grand Canyon. Pretty much went to the bottom of the canyon. I think I'd like to do that again this morning in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, just to see what it looks like in comparison to X-Plane 11. I'm sure it'll probably look better. So let me get this plane started. I might go ahead and program an RNAV landing. I don't think that it will work, but I'll go ahead and program it, and maybe we'll try to do it. But other than that, it will probably turn out to be a visual approach and landing.
Task system test. Okay.
I am going to program nav 1 to 113.1, which I believe is the GCN waypoint here. .5 nautical miles. That sounds right. I guess I need to input it again. Excuse me. Alright, now track procedures. Yeah, it's not allowing me to select anything. Okay. I will skip that. And do the visual approach and landing, and I'll just use the distance measuring equipment here, the DME for nav 1, to get back to the airport. Watch your head. Why do I feel like we're playing chicken? Oh gosh, this is crazy. Busy ground, people, this morning. I think I'm gonna just, well, there's another car. Maybe I'll be good after him. Yeah, yesterday morning's flight was pretty nice in X-Plane 11. The canyon looked great. Um, no mishaps, thankfully, except for the fact that when I attempted my RNAV landing, I made a mistake with the autopilot. Not really a mistake. It was a more of not knowing what I needed to do to make it work. So I went back later in the day and took off pretty much from right here. You know, I just, instead of getting on the runway, I just went ahead and took off so I could get in the air and attempt the RNAV landing. And I was able to figure out how to make it work, thankfully. So I did post that video as well. I had to do it in replay because I didn't actually video it as I was making the attempt. I didn't know that it was going to work out. So when it did, I just did the replay for it. So I was wanting to do the RNAV in this morning, um, but it wasn't permitting me to select the approach for KGCN. So I don't need the entire runway. So I think I'm going to go ahead and get, well, I don't know. Yesterday it did take me a while to pick up enough speed to take off. So maybe I should give myself the whole runway. I had to mess with the mixture a lot in the X-Plane yesterday too, being at the canyon. This seems like a really long taxi though. It didn't appear to be that long in X-Plane 11 in comparison, but this seems very extremely long. So there was an update again this morning for Well, it might have been, they might have put it out a few days ago, but I hadn't launched Microsoft Flight Simulator for a few days. But when I went to open it this morning, I had another update. It didn't take as long as the last one, not by not by far. Yeah, I would say maybe 10 or 15 minutes maximum. But a lot of the stuff that I read sounded like it was it. There was a lot of familiarity to it, as though I had read it on the previous update. So I don't know if they had to redo some of the fixes, or they're just adding to some of the fixes that they've already done and then relisting them every time they do an update, or what's going on there. But there were some things there that I had seen before that they had already fixed. Wow. Super long runway. They must have 747s landing here or something. We are 0.9 miles now from the, yeah, we've traveled at least half a mile from where we were, from the waypoint. Windsock doesn't look like it's doing much. I'll lower some flaps. I usually do two on takeoff. I noticed with two, I just seem to lift right off the ground and barely have to rotate. All right, we got plenty of runway. This one actually looks a whole lot smoother than the one in X-Plane 11. I was encountering a little uphill and downhill and encountering some wind and all sorts of challenges in an effort to take off. I mean, I make it sound worse than it was, but just in retrospect, it was a little bit of a challenge to get going fast enough to lift off. And I did have to adjust my mixture in order to get enough power to get it in the air. Rotating. Raising the flaps. Now in X-Plane 11, all this looks more like desert, more so than seeing trees, bushes as we're seeing here. But having been to the Grand Canyon, there are trees, bushes, things like that. There's a lot more vegetation. All right, let me have a look at the RPMs over here, and I want to see what happens when I adjust this mixture. Wow. Okay. Right there. I gave it quite a bit. Maybe half, close to half. So I think I'm gonna gain some altitude here for a minute and then have a look around and see where I want to enter the canyon. I think I'm pretty much headed in the same direction I was yesterday. But I chose the spot that looked like it had the most room, or plenty of room to actually fly into it, and the least amount of issues. Experiencing a little turbulence here. Also reducing power with intent to nose down and go into the canyon a little bit more. Can't see much. I'm using the G1000 also for a little guidance there on what's below me. They look nice. Very different from the look in X-Plane 11. I see a lot of screen refreshing though in certain areas. I mean, it doesn't bother me too badly, but for those who are, you know, looking for the perfect graphics, it's not there. Some screen meshing and blending issues, like right there, it's not meshed fully. But still, I'm enjoying looking at these canyons. And I am going to maintain some altitude till it just feels very. I don't know if I'm going to be able to go as deep into the canyon as I was able to do yesterday. I will do what I can, and as I get closer to, I tend to warm up to it a little bit more. Wow. Yeah, let's head away from that guy. I do like the G1000 on Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, a little bit better than the G1000 in the fact that I can actually see, you know, what's below the aircraft. Um, I have a little bit of a heads up, and that's nice. The G1000, as far as the RNAV landings and getting around and you know, interacting with it and using it in X-Plane 11, it's great, but it doesn't have it doesn't show you all of this as far as, you know, what's below you. It doesn't show any of that, and that's kind of a shame. It just shows your position relative to the ground and you know, the air. A lot of one-handed flying again today, I would imagine. Throttle, one hand on the throttle and one hand on the yoke. Wow, that water even looks real down there. A lot more real than X-Plane 11. And I'm mostly just gliding right now, doing 100. Well, we were at 115 knots about the time I was getting to mention it. That looks a little tight, so I'm gonna give myself some power and try to squeeze between here, and then I'll lower my nose a little. Turbulence. It's bouncing around a whole lot.
500.
Yeah, I know. Might have to look into seeing what it would take to turn that announcement off, because I imagine I'm going to be hearing that a lot this morning. But it's too late now. I can't mess with it now.
Los Angeles Center, FedEx 9087 is at flight level 360, descending 10,000 feet. FedEx 987, Los Angeles Center, continuous planned.
Where's the comm button? I'm going to change that. I'm going to have to change the knob first. The station. Alright. It was duplicated, and all I did was switch over the duplicated. I can't see which way I'm going. Yep. Track IR. Need to get it. That looks like a waterfall up there, but it's just ground meshing, not matching up right. That's okay. I mean, little things, you can't expect perfection in anything really, but it still looks beautiful down here. This is awesome. And I believe that's the spot I was thinking about yesterday for that picnic. Be nice to land there and just spend the day in real life. I'm giving it more power. Let's get over the nose here a little bit better. $500. Very nice. Yeah. I will be so glad when that replay comes. And honestly, I'm glad I'm live streaming this and recording it because I'm going to enjoy watching it later. Right now, I'm just trying to fly. I can't even enjoy everything that's around me. Yesterday, I probably should have flown to a little bit of a higher altitude, and then we could have had a look at the canyon from, 10,000 feet or 12,000 feet. But I didn't, so I think today, since it looks so great, Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, I will fly to about between 10 and 12,000 feet and fly around the canyon for a bit before I actually land. So it'll prolong the length of the video, but it'll be nice to look at it. Reflections off the water look pretty good. I think they could make some improvements there, but it's nice. It almost looks very real. If it were possible for somebody to make a real life video of a flight like this and then just kind of compare it, for realism, and that would be neat. Alright, I'm going to gain a little altitude. I'm feeling confined right in this area. And I'm experiencing turbulence. That's no good. Let's have a look at that display. Okay, I'll come back down in there a little bit. And the Cessna might fit just fine in there, but I wasn't going to push my luck. trouble here is I don't know what it's going to look like once I enter the left there. So I'm kind of hoping that I have enough space, like just going from memory from my flight yesterday in X-Plane. Water's turning greenish there. That's kind of neat. Seeing that. Little stutter there. I probably do have my graphics pushed a little harder than I should. Um, I could back them down some, but same thing with X-Plane 11. I always push it to right at the max. Squeeze as much as I can out of it with the least amount of issues. But yet, there's always some issues. Looking good. Wow. What's always in the back of my mind is, okay, when am I going to need to pull out? I need to give myself enough room to gain altitude, turn around, come back and do this again on the way back. Like right now, you know, a great running start, but what if when I get up there, there's still plenty of space ahead of me and I could go for a little while longer? So what I think I'll do is wait till I get to the end here and then have to turn right a little bit, and then I'll start pulling out, and then I'll turn around and come back in and start my low flight right through this channel here, because this is great. And I don't want to make the video so exceedingly long nobody's ever going to want to watch it, but it is kind of neat seeing the canyons from this perspective. How often do you get to go down through it like this? And with it being Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 and the graphics being as good as they are, this is kind of, well, awesome is a good word for it. gain altitude here. Go up, over. Turn around, come back and do this again. Well, actually, I might be able to turn in here. So I will attempt that. Well, that's getting close fast. Who turned the heat on? I guess I shouldn't let y'all see me sweat, but yeah. Seems like I'm going exceedingly fast. So we are 24 nautical miles away from the airport we took off from. I don't necessarily know exactly where I came into the canyon at. What I did yesterday is I just remembered I had a wide open area, and once I got to another wide open area, where I just kind of had the feeling where I came, I just went ahead and left pretty much the way I came. So I'm assuming that that same thing can happen today, but if it doesn't, I can always look at that distance measuring equipment and kind of get a feel for how far away I am and when I need to lift out. But yeah, when I have plenty of room, we'll come out. I mean, I could come out now, but I'm enjoying this. Actually, I had so much fun doing it yesterday, I was really looking forward to doing it again today. It's sort of a redundant flight, but at the same time, I did want to see what the differences were as far as graphics. And it's looking really good. I mean, I thought it looked good in X-Plane 11, but this, wow. Except for this stuff, I don't like this. And it just fixed itself. It knew I was looking. A lot of glare coming off the grass from the sun there, but it looks good. Blinding. Did you bring your sunglasses? I forgot mine. A little stutter there. So I bought the basic edition of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. And the only thing I kind of regret about it is the fact that it doesn't have the Cessna with the G530. You know, I don't mind the G1000, and I like the G1000, but I also like flying with the older instruments. I mean, the glass cockpit is cool, modern, you know, nice. Does everything I needed to for the most part. But one thing I do like about the glass cockpit is being able to add winds, and I'm not going to mess with the display right now, but I do like knowing what the winds are, and I don't get that with the older instruments. I have to go by feel. But see, that's one thing you lose when you start using technology. You don't tend to use your senses the same way that you would do in real life, or you know, you start relying on the instruments and less on your own sense. And it's a shame, I think, because the mind is capable. You know, just think about cell phones, for instance, and we have everybody's number programmed these days, so we don't have to remember phone numbers as much as we used to. And right off the hand, or you know, right now, I only know my number and my ex-wife's number, and that's it. And maybe some phone numbers that I use at work, because I'm not using my cell phone, I'm just using the work phone. But for anybody that's programmed into my phone, I don't know their number. So if I were to lose my phone and need to call them, I wouldn't know how. And we rely on our GPSs. So fewer people are paying attention to learning the roads and the streets, names of them, and how to get there without using a GPS for longer distances. When in the old days, that's exactly what we had to do. Maybe use a map, an atlas, road atlas. Fewer people even have a road atlas in their car anymore. I don't. I used to. I've got my phone with me at all times now. You know, you almost never leave home without it. Not too long ago, we didn't have these cell phones to carry around in our pocket all day long. All right, I am going to start climbing out. We're still 19 miles away from the airport, but I want to climb to about, I probably will climb to 12,000 feet, as I said, and we'll have a look at the canyon from 12,000 feet. Maybe fly around the rim of it for a little while, fly over it. But looking at the multifunction display over here, looks like I could just follow this channel for who knows how long. And it would be fun. I can't do it forever. Alright, I think at this point I'm also going to hit the autopilot and get myself some more coffee. So we'll do a vertical speed of 800, and I'll watch it for a minute to make sure that I'm not losing airspeed. Too much airspeed anyways. Maybe I will go down to 7 here. So you see we have a vertical speed here, 700 feet per minute. We're climbing out. We're losing some airspeed. I'm going to back it down to 600 feet per minute. That looks like enough to not hit anything, and based off of recollection from yesterday, I am climbing out nearly exactly where I climbed out yesterday. Only I started my ascent early, but I was worried about hitting that right there yesterday on my way out. But we'll be well above it before I even get to it. Alright, stepping away from the computer for just a minute. I'll be right back. Alright, since I have it on autopilot, let me look at this primary function display. I want to get wind up there, and I usually choose option 2. So we do have a little bit of a wind, and I was thinking that. I was like, you know what, it seemed like I was going to come out over here and I'm being pushed over this way. So I'm going to do the heading bug like I did yesterday. That looks like a good heading. We're still going to be pushed over that way a little bit, but I'll eyeball it. We're approaching it more from a head-on direction. And see, you get this with the G1000, but you can't really tell which direction the winds are coming in unless the GPS that you have is capable of demonstrating that information. Or unless you sense it as you fly, you can see yourself being pushed over. You just notice you're inching sideways. So apparently at the Grand Canyon they have a tour that you can take, and you can actually go down into the canyon. And I would like to do that sometime, but when I went with my former wife years ago, actually we weren't married when we went, it was maybe a year before we got married, but we didn't do that tour, and when I went with my family years and years before that, we didn't do the tour either. So I think at some point, probably in the more near future, I will travel out there and do that tour. Maybe this coming summer. And I'll probably just make it a road trip. Airspeed's still looking good. almost at 7,000 feet. Altimeter's at 29902. I think the station was 12. I'm gonna have to look that up. It was 124.35. 24. I'm gonna try 35, but I don't think my memory's serving me right on this. 124 I think is correct, but the last two digits is where I'm plane's shifting around on me and the knobs. 124. It's either 45 or 35. I'll try 45 first. Nothing. Alright, so let's go to 35. Or maybe it's 43. Try that. Oh, okay. Three five. Okay, let me look up ATIS for KGCN. Alright, sky vector. One two 4.3. All I have to do then is just drop that 1.5.
Airport information, India 1800.
2992.
258 entry.
That's all I need to do.
Visibility.
Actually,
Canyon Airport information, Juliet.
they want us to land
258 entry.
21.
Visibility. Niner. Sky condition. Clear.
Alright, so we'll approach the runway then from a heading of 210. Alright, I'm going to take, let's see, we're at 8,000 feet. I do want to change direction and kind of continue flying around the canyon, not just out of it.
Stall.
Right.
Stall.
Okay, let's lower, where's my vertical speed? 500 feet per minute. Alright, now. The thing is I have trouble with this Cessna at altitudes after 8,000 feet. This is not the first time, so I'm going to take it off of autopilot here for a minute and try to get this bird under control. So I think 12,000 feet is going to be out of the question. We'll just fly at this altitude. I'll do an altitude hold. No, I don't want it. Yeah, that's fine. Where's the altitude hold button? I can't see it. There it is. I'm heading. That's off. That's on. Now why are we going that way? What's wrong with you? It's out of control. Alright. Yeah, I think Microsoft needs to do something about that. The ceiling cap for a Cessna like this would be 13,000, 14,000 feet, not 9,000. So, I'm sorry about that. I'm taking this back to the airport because I'm struggling with the aircraft at this point. There's the canyon there. I wanted to just fly around it a bit from higher altitude. But I need to get out. I need to get below 8,000 feet to get this bird under control, and at that point I might as well land. So I haven't really looked into it yet, but I wonder if there's a way I can notify Microsoft or tell them of the bug or whatever. I might mess with that a little bit today just to confirm. This is my second time trying to fly above 8,000 feet and having trouble with it. Actually, third time, because I experienced it in one of my flights that I did a video on, and then I showed a friend, and then so this is the third time I've had trouble. Yeah, and I didn't use the distance measuring equipment to know where I was or the VOR to get back. I just saw the flashing light for the runway from when I was trying to get the aircraft under control. Alright, flaps. I'm having to give a lot of back pressure on the yoke in order to keep the nose down. I've been giving it a lot of trim. That seems ineffective. And this is what happens after I exceed 8,000 feet. Anybody else out there having this issue with Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020? A couple of stutters. The winds are basically null here. We got 2 miles an hour. When I looked at it, about the time I was going to say that, it said 1. And then I said it, and it changed to 2. if I barely relieve pressure on the yoke, that nose just wants to go up. And I have been trimming it. See, I won't have to flare because all I got to do is ease up on the yoke. And it noses up. All right. Now I can release the back pressure on the yoke. Flaps are coming up. And as y'all know, I can't do a replay. I've mentioned it several times, and also that I've been waiting for Microsoft to add that feature. But I would love to do a replay right now of a lot of that flight if I could. But anyways, thank you for joining me for the flight, and y'all have a good day.